How Roblox anime games manipulate you. Today we'll be deep diving into the methods that Roblox anime games use to generate revenue and manipulate you into buying outrageous game passes, in hopes of actually exposing one of the biggest issues with the Roblox platform in general. Without further ado, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let's get straight into this discussion. We have all seen the use of game passes in many ways, ranging from XP boosters to gacha spins to so much more. Roblox is a free platform, so seeing things like this isn't really surprising, since Roblox is becoming less and less about being creative and instead becoming more and more about who can make the most money the fastest. There are certain developers I want to point out that have officially went off the deep end in terms of monetization. One of them is named The Boss, and he is the owner of a One Piece game and is also the pinnacle of money-hungry developers. As we all know, a One Piece game isn't really the best game on the platform. It's not even all about One Piece the anime anymore, which is kind of ironic. The Game Pass section is filled to the brim with things that are not even One Piece related, such as a Goku bundle, Aizen bundle, Gojo bundle, Chainsaw Man bundle. That's not all. A Naruto bundle. So the big three of anime are all in this One Piece game. The main issue with all of these so-called bundles is that they cost over 1,000 Robux, which in USD is about $10. The reason this is such an issue is because the developer of the game is actively working to bait players into buying game passes for the game. And if you decide not to buy the bundle, you will have to grind for hours on end, probably for your favorite character's abilities. And if you end up buying the bundle, you can obtain these abilities instantly. You could probably see why now this is an issue. Unfortunately, with Roblox being mainly inhabited by children, they don't understand the real value of these bundles and are blindly giving away money to greedy developers who couldn't care less about what is truly being given for the price listed. I don't see enough people calling out this game, so I just wanted to point it out. I usually always say, hey, go get your bag, but in this case, it's just truly sickening how costly these Game Pass bundles truly are, and how Roblox usually promotes these tactics because it also makes the creators of Roblox money as well. With the use of all these popular media forms, it makes all the kids want to go spend more and more Robux to see their favorite characters' abilities and outfits, and I'm honestly just tired of seeing it. If you ever wonder why Roblox anime games always have an egregious grind nowadays, I can basically answer this pretty easily. Because it is easy to get people to buy more game passes, which in turn makes the grind easier. The grind is only there to get people to play the game longer, which will increase the player retention of the game, which therefore make players seemingly want to buy more things more often. Very simple, but also very grimy. A game that I've seen go down this path, unfortunately, is Grand Peace Online, whose owner we all know is Foyu, also known as Foe Eating. My bad.
There's no way out of this one.
Grand Peace Online, when first released, was known for being a pretty special game. Fruits were known for being pretty rare to obtain, just like in the anime. The owners were yet to exploit the players when it came to this. It only took a few updates to understand the path that the game was going. More and more islands were being added, with the grind becoming more and more boring and longer. Of course, with this, the game added a 2x XP game pass in the game to get more people to buy it, since the grind became more and more frustrating as each update was tacked on. The game really wasn't considered technically pay to win until a little item called All Seeing Eye was eventually released, basically making finding fruits trivial, being priced at 20,000 Robux, which is $200. I repeat, $200 USD. Even recently, Foyu has buffed this item to tempt the player base to buy it and make their GPO grinding session a little less painful than it already is. Foyu is obviously not intending on improving the gameplay loop, as he continues to add on aspects to the game to further keep the game away from that true One Piece feel the game had during Update 0 and Update 1. We will probably never see GPO return to that feeling, and only people who have played during that time will know how great the game once was without all the aggressive money-hungry tactics from Foyu, the owner of Grand Peace Online. Now I want to talk about gacha and spin systems, which we all know were made to make money and manipulate players into repeatedly gambling for abilities and buffs. This spin system has found its way into several different Demon Slayer games as well, most notably Project Slayers, where it has a commonly added clan system. I really dislike this system because it manipulates the player base to keep spinning for RNG based buffs, which give you a major advantage over most players in the game. Simply pay to win. Another well-known game genre I want to talk about is tower defense games, most known out of the bunch Anime Adventures, which is, you guessed it, very pay to win. In this game, there is a gacha system, which every update, usually a very overpowered unit comes to the shop, and you can either grind for that specific unit for hours, or you can decide to spin your left leg in order to get overpowered units, as well as trait rerolls being the biggest scam of them all. And the different free-to-play modes barely give you any gems to spend unless you play the game 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, grinding the same levels over and over. While we are on the topic of the spin system, I want to talk about another game that has released recently, Type Soul. In Type Soul, there's a system where you can obtain a Shikai, but it's through a terrible RNG, of course. So if you don't get the Shikai you want through a lucky roll, you have to spend over $10 USD just to re-roll this RNG based power up, which will completely change your experience of the game depending on what you roll. Not to mention the horrible rates. And the way the game is designed, it encourages players to pay for these insanely priced game passes, which is why many players beg for this thing called codes from the devs. Of course, we have to talk about anime simulators briefly, which are the hell zone of microtransactions. One game that I still see has over 50,000 players is Anime Fighter Simulator, which is basically a game where you basically watch units beat up a non-moving AI for hours upon hours until they give you something to pay Robux for. Turns out this game is also made by the boss who also made that One Piece game we talked about earlier. This game is even worse than a One Piece game when it comes to Robux spending, with the combination of a gacha system that you can also get a game pass for that makes it easier to roll for good units. Most kids look at this as an opportunity for better luck, but it's really just a way to get them to spend Robux on a gacha system, and quite frankly a bad game. It averages so many players that it's obvious that most players have probably spent real life money on at least one game pass because it's encouraged throughout your entire play session of this horrible game. Other simulators use this exact same strategy of grinding and manipulating dopamine levels to keep getting kids to buy more and more game passes and keep them there in their games for longer, which in turn increases their opportunity to take money from them. Developers even publicly admit this is something that they try to do when making these cash grabs. Games aren't even creative anymore, because why make a passion project game for free when you can plug a non-creative dopamine miner with tons of game passes and storefronts in order to make millions? See, that discrepancy is why we don't get good games anymore. It also seems that players are more inclined to play these dopamine miners as well instead of actual good games on the platform, since we can see that from the difference in player count. Now, not to call out any of my fellow YouTubers, but we also encourage unwise spending. A YouTuber called Red Weeb literally showcased himself spending hundreds of dollars on various Roblox anime games. While doing this, he also basically showcased himself going into bankruptcy as well. Not saying that it's his fault that kids spend tons of money on their favorite games, but he definitely inspired a lot to. These videos gained tons of views due to so many people being surprised by his unwise spending habits. Many other YouTubers followed this trend of spending tons of Robux on games to get ahead of their competition and basically pay their way to the top. I must admit, it was pretty entertaining to watch a grown man waste all of his money on a terrible anime game. The future of these various games are quite uncertain, since anytime someone from any of these copyright holders of any of these popular medias can shut down the platform at any time and shut down some of your favorite games in the process. So spending copious amounts of money on these games is pretty unwise in my opinion, especially if the game is an obvious cash grab. We have already seen games like Brick Bronze get shut down due to copyright claims, and I know so many people spend money on that game. Also, game developers can always decide to just stop supporting their game with updates, so your money is basically wasted when the game is left for dead. This should make people want to stop, but with the popularity of these games rising and YouTubers increasingly buying more and more game passes for content, this trend will only keep going, and Roblox anime games most likely will keep being paid to win cash grabs as long as developers are encouraged to do so in order to be the next Pet Simulator X or Blox Fruits. A sad and harsh reality, but hopefully we can see more creative games that stop these tactics, but only time will tell. But that is how Roblox anime games manipulate you. And as I say in every video, if you guys enjoyed this video and you like to see more content like this one, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.